While I wait for those transformers to dry, there's something I can take care of, which is this box down in here. That's actually the tone control. It's a 3-position tone control here, shown on the schematic like so. Well, that box has these 3 capacitors inside of it. So I want to rebuild those. It's held on by a nut here, and on the other side there's a wire snaking around inside there. This wire here. It turns out that it's very crunchy. Comes out around up here. This insulation is really gone nasty. And then it goes around under this box, and it's wired into a socket, I think. Yeah, or a lug right there. So I'm going to temporarily unmount this box I've already rebuilt and get that wire out of there and remove this box, and let's rebuild that thing. And here it is. So we've got a block of some substance here. I imagine it's similar to the same stuff used in the Bakelite blocks. And so there's a couple wires coming out of it. Those are some of the capacitor leads. There's 3 altogether, going to each of these 3 lugs. And these are Price silver-plated contacts. A little bit of metal polish will clean that up. So the first thing to do is start trying to get this out. Alright, let's see. I can just cut these old wires off. It's easy enough. There's some type of paper surrounding this cap block, so let's see if maybe with a little persuasion this thing will pop out. I'm guessing not, though. Alright, I'll try chipping away at it a little bit. Yeah, definitely the same type of materials as in those Bakelite blocks. This is metal, though, so I'm not really worried about a side cracking like can happen with the Bakelite. I think I'll dig out a little bit and give it a little bit of heat to soften it up, and then it should come out. Let's try some heat. Okay, it's kind of gooey now. Let's see if we can. Yep, it's coming out. Alright, there's one section. Another. There's no voltage rating given on the schematic or parts list, but let's see, I think these are what 0.01 microfarad caps, and the replacements I've got, they're pretty darn small, so I think they'll fit in there without any problem. 630 volt caps, that is. Which I'm sure is more than sufficient voltage wise. I'm just going to clean all this crud out. There's most of it. There we go. It's not too dirty at all. So I'll get 3 caps mounted in there and run up 3 new wires to these lugs, and then I guess I could pot it up with some hot black glue to sort of simulate the original look. I cleaned up the control first with some paint thinner to get the residue of the potting material out of there, and then I used some Tarnex on the silver, and finally some Simichrome to polish it all up. I then took 3 capacitors, 3 little 0.01 microfarad 630 volt caps, connected 3 of the leads together for a common end. That's this wire coming out over here, and each of the other 3 goes to one of these 3 tabs. Now the way this control works isn't quite what you might think. It doesn't switch one of these 3 into the circuit as you turn the switch. What it does is, right now we have no capacitors in the circuit. Now we have 1 capacitor, and now 2 of these, because this central piece here, all 3 of these fingers are connected together, so now we have 2 caps in parallel. And now all 3 caps in parallel. So no capacitance, and then 0.01 microfarad, 0.02 microfarad, and 0.03 microfarad in the circuit. Now I'm going to fill this up with, I guess, hot glue. I stuffed a little corrugated cardboard inside the metal box as filler, and then put in a nice thick layer of black hot glue. That's set up now. So I think this is all ready for reinstallation. I let the paint cure for a couple days, and then I went ahead and reinstalled the power transformer and the filter choke. I think they look a heck of a lot better than they did before. Still have to put the box filter cap back in. I'll get to that in a little bit. Another bit of good news is that I got lucky on eBay, finally, with a Type 80 globe tube. I've always got to look out for either Radiotron or Philco 80 globe tubes, and over the years, well, really haven't had any luck, so finally I got one. I was the only bidder, and I suspect that's because the seller had a very low feedback rating. And by that, I don't mean he had bad feedback, it's just he had only sold 2 or 3 other items. In other words, he was a new seller. Now, he did claim that this was new old stock, as I recall, but I don't think that's the case. Yes, it's in the box, but the box had been opened, and the tube itself has a label from, I think, 1938 from the store where it was sold, so pretty sure this tube saw a little bit of use. However, it does test quite good, so I'm really not complaining. A few cool things about real Philco tubes is that they have Philco engraved in the base, they've got a Philco label across the tube, and they have the type number etched into the top. So this guy will go in right here. Only real minor thing I don't like about this is that the labels and the etched 80 all point towards a transformer, so you can't actually see them when it's in the set. But I'm not going to complain about that. I posted I wanted to buy ad in the classified section at the Antique Radio Forum for some copper Mershon capacitors, and I got a response from a fellow collector who was nice enough to work out a trade with me for 3 Zenith copper caps, and they just arrived in the mail today. Looks like they will work out just fine. I think they are exactly the diameter that I needed, and the height should be fine as well. So the outer body on these would be ground, and the lug on the bottom is positive. I will attempt to restuff these. I've never done one of these before, but I know there are some articles online with some suggestions on how to do it. I think these holes in the top were how they originally filled them with electrolyte, and then they put some type of plug on there, I imagine. They might have also served as a vent in case these overheated, so that they would vent out the gases rather than explode. These should clean up really, really nice. These caps are cleaning up really nice. So far I've just gone over one of them with some Twinkle copper cleaner, and after about 10 minutes it was looking this nice. In addition to having a really fine abrasive grit, there's some type of chemical in here that starts untarnishing the copper on contact. I think there's a traditional copper cleaner that uses lemon juice and salt. So maybe that's all this is. I don't know. I've never actually tried using that homebrew remedy myself, but this stuff works pretty good. So if I just apply some like that and wait a few minutes, we'll actually clear off quite a bit of the tarnish without me having to do a whole lot of rubbing. Here it is after just about 5 minutes of me just letting the Twinkle sit on the copper. Clean that off, and still a bit of tarnish left, a few more applications and a bit of rubbing. We'll get it looking like this. Now for the next step, I want to switch to some Simichrome metal polish. Just give it a real nice shine. Now I don't want to go too nuts with the cleaning yet because I do have to restuff these. I think the way I'm going to do it is to go through the bottom, because the top is all one nice, seamless piece of copper. So it looks like I can probably get a knife blade in or something around this bottom seal and dig this out. And not surprisingly, these are dry as a bone. You can hear what remains rattling around inside with all of these. The electrolyte is completely dried out. As far as the Simichrome goes, a little bit goes a long way, so just get a little bit on this rag here and spread it around and start buffing it out, and you can see right away it starts getting black as the material starts coming off. It's actually really fine particles of metal that I'm buffing off. So go over it a bit like that and then switch to a clean section of cloth. Really buff off all the residue. And that is going to look really, really sweet. Now, of course, this will tarnish again over time, so what I'll do is when I'm fully done restuffing them and everything, I will do one final polish, because no doubt I'll leave fingerprints and such on here. And after the final polish, I will try to clear coat these with some lacquer. I've got some specialty lacquer designed for coating brass, and I don't see why it wouldn't work just as well on copper.